What is up, everyone? Welcome back to my channel. It's Rahul, and today we're going to be looking at Mew VMAX. Again, this is the best deck in the format right now. Undeniably the best deck in the format. It has about a 35% like top cut share, which is a ridiculously high number. This number has not been attained since a deck like Garbodor first was released, and even then the metagame kind of evolved and sorted itself out into those things. Now, if you're here and already grabbed the list and left, thank you for coming. Have a good time, but don't forget to hit that subscribe button and like the video on your way out. It'd be the least you could do for me. I'd appreciate it a ton. But today's video is just going to be me updating you guys on my Mew VMAX list and kind of where I stand. I've been doing a lot of coaching. I've been doing a lot of my own personal practice. Obviously, I don't have all the cards on my account right now of Mew VMAX, and this is kind of where I've settled. Obviously, the dust has been it's been about a month, right, since Mew VMAX came out, and it's been dominating. So the meta has kind of evolved. We've seen all the stages of the cross-switcher Peony no boss list, the 4-boss 2 Peony no Alessa Sparkle lists, the 4-boss 2 Alessa Sparkle something lists, like the heavy Meloetta lists, where it's like looking for the turn 1 knockout, versus the Latias lists. There's a lot of variation. This deck is very versatile. This deck is one of the best decks in the format. So let's talk about my list and why I like it the most. We have your 4 copies of Genesect, which I think is incredibly staple. Then there's a 4-3 line of Mew VMAX. Now, I understand if one Mew VMAX is prized and one gets discarded early, we're in a little bit of a pickle, as always. But I play Evolution Incense in this build as opposed to Great Ball, so I don't really feel like that's going to be a problem more often than not. Now, this flex spot is a Meloetta, or it could be a Latias. I've been favoring Meloetta for that going second turn 1 knockout potential, especially in the mirror. If you're going second, you're already behind by a lot. So if you don't have Meloetta and you don't get that one shot or something on turn 2, you're pretty much big response KO onto a Mew VMAX is like triple tableting, or like triple tableting plus 1 vitality banding to get a knockout. And you're hoping that they don't do the same back to you. If they do the same back to you, the game is virtually over. Or you go for a boss play onto a Genesect, something like that. So it's simply a mirror tech more than anything. And if you have this Meloetta in play, it does induce a situation where you can go kill 2 Mew VMAXs in a row. Obviously, Latias kind of throws that for a wrench, but I do like the fact that you have that option to get 4 Fusion Strike energies into play and one-shot virtually any VMAX for very few power tablets used, including Umbreon VMAX, which is a huge, huge problem for this deck. Now, I'm still sticking with the 4 Battle VIP Pass because I really think this card is broken. You only need 1 or 2 on turn 1, and the card really just carries itself through the entire game because you use it as Cramomatic fodder. It does clog up your turn, but turn 1, it's really, really important to get this card. It's really, really important to get the ball rolling, and it really puts yourself in a good position to get that turn 1 Meloetta knockout if you need it. The turn 1 just drawing cards, setting up, getting an energy into play. I'm just a huge fan of Battle VIP Pass. I would like to see it in more decks if possible. There's 4 copies of Cramomatic. I'm still a huge fan of Cramomatic. I built this list to have a lot of like techie options. So I'd like to have the Cramomatic to kind of cater into these techie options, kind of lean into this like this techie build that I've played, a little bit of a greedier build, I'd like to say. Maybe it's not greedy, maybe I'm just kind of selling myself a little bit too much. I've got 2 copies of Escape Rope. These could be switches also. I just feel like Escape Rope is still really good because you can force your opponent to play a little bit weirdly, a little bit differently. But you could also be a 1-1 split between Rope and Switch, and maybe just 2 Switch if that's what you kind of prefer over the Rope. I've been sticking to the Rope just to make my opponents play differently, play a little bit weirdly. I'm playing a heavy count of Boss, so Rope Boss doesn't feel really bad at all. Because a lot of the time, if I'm roping, I'm almost certainly bossing anyway, because what I want to knock out is not in the active anyway. So it's kind of working in my favor. So far, I've not really noticed too much of a difference between Rope and Switch. There's 3 copies of Evolution Incense. This is normally where the Great Ball slot would be that a lot of lists are playing currently, but I've been favoring Evolution Incense simply because I want to guarantee that I get the VMAX out. And it's also, again, a burnable card. I don't care that I'm burning it. I don't care that it's a dead card for half the game. I just need to be able to get my 2 VMAXs into play by turn 2. I cannot whiff those. I do not want to whiff those. I don't want to be sitting there Great Balling, hoping that I hit that, and then drawing with Genesect and hoping that I hit a VMAX. Like, that does not feel good to me. That does not feel reliable to me. And I understand Great Ball is an overall more versatile card to get this Genesect early, to get your Mews early, and this card doesn't do anything in your hand on turn 1. But, like, I don't need to do much on turn 1. I just need to get a Mew onto the board, and I'm okay for turn 2. Like, if I get a Mew onto the board for turn 1, turn 2, this becomes an Evolution Incense into a Mew VMAX, into a potentially dig for Alessa's Sparkle if I need to. Like, I don't need to do anything turn 1. That's my logic here. I'm currently playing 2 Fan of Waves because I think this card really pulls its weight in both Single Strike and the Mirror Match, and it's including decks like Rapid Strike and Jolteon, and all these decks that try to keep energies on the board sometimes. And you can kind of get rid of these energies and make them play a little bit differently. If Eternatus or another dark type deck attaches a special dark energy or hiding dark energy for some strange reason as opposed to a basic dark, you can Fan of Waves them, especially in a best of one format where you're cheesing people. But otherwise, I think Fan is a very versatile card and very good as well. It's been really pulling its weight in the mirror in these Meloetta matchups. When they come up and go Meloetta turn 1 knockout onto my like Mew, for example, I return back with a Mew knockout, and I can fan away their energy on the bench, forcing them to have another Alessa's Sparkle. And most lists only play 2 Alessa's Sparkles, so once they've gone through their 2 Alessa's Sparkle, it's kind of like they don't have that resource left for them, and that really kind of goes a long way. There's 4 copies of Fog Crystal. I think it's a very pivotal card to getting your Mew, your Meloetta, your energy. Bada bing, bada boom. Fog Crystal's good. 1 copy of Pal Pad. I'll explain. If you've already seen my supporter count, you'll understand, but I have some niche supporters in here. 4 Tablet, very self-explanatory. 4 Quick Ball, self-explanatory. I have 4 Stadiums, and I kind of split them all into 4s. I have 1 Old Cemetery. I think the 2 damage ping does matter in a lot of matchups. It really helps math a lot, especially with the Vitality Band in play now. I have 1 copy of Rose Tower because there's going to be situations where we like get down to weird low hand sizes. And I'd like to draw first with Rose Tower before I draw with Genesect. And it's also a good path bumper. I have Shopping Center because I like this stadium a lot to bring back either my 1 Vitality Band or my 1 Air Balloon. I don't want to discard these cards throughout the game, and I don't want to feel bad about putting them somewhere. So especially if I'm like, you know, if my Mew VMAX is damaged and doesn't need the Vitality Band for the knockout, I can always Shopping Center it back into my hand and put it somewhere else. 1 copy of Training Court. I still think this card is key. It's king. It's supreme. It'll help me get that psychic energy back and help me recycle and play the game. 3 copies of Boss. Now, my list originally had 4 copies of Boss, but that's where the cut for the Pal Pad came into play. I really think Boss's orders should be a 4 of, or like a potential I need to get to 4 of, because this deck really thrives off of just putting on the aggression, making it so like your opponent doesn't really get a chance to breathe. That's really why Mew is so scary. There's 2 copies of Alessa's Sparkle. Another supporter I'd like a +1 count of. In this instance, I'd like a 3rd copy of Alessa's Sparkle a lot of the time in the deck. But obviously, we don't have deck space. That's where the Pal Pad also comes into play. Now, I've been noticing a lot of the time while playing Mew VMAX that my opponents will have a really big hand, and I have really no way to answer it. And it feels like I'm kind of checkmated because I fell behind 1 turn, or I fell behind in a situation that I don't want to have. So Marnie really helps me buy that 1 middle turn or that 1 turn in between, because opponents will play very greedy against Mew. They will simply fill their hand with the resources they need because they know you can't do anything. But the 1 Marnie really does pull its weight. It's actually won me a lot more games than I thought it would. It might be recency bias. It might just be like observation bias. But I feel like the Marnie has been pulling its weight. It's been a very, very strong supporter. Now, if I cut the Marnie and I cut the Pal Pad, I'd probably just go to 4 Bosses, 3 Alessa's Sparkle, something like that. Yes, they're both cards that still clog up your hand. So it's not like I'm cutting cards that don't clog my hand for cards that clog my hand. It's like it'll still be hand cloggers. Like it's not changing the arithmetic in that equation. I'm gonna have 2 copies of Peony. Now the primary purpose for Peony is that like mid to late game, I'm going to be digging for tablets. I'm going to be digging for 2 specific pieces a lot of the time, or like 3 or 4. Like say that I'm looking for a 4-piece combo, not from KFC or something. I'm just looking for a 4-piece combo meal out of my deck. I could probably find 1 or 2 pieces off the Genesect, but finding all 4 off of Genesect draws is highly improbable. You got to get really lucky. So being able to use Peony to kind of find those other pieces and not worrying about it feels really good. Like a lot of games I've been looking like I'm like 1 tablet short, or I'm like 1 Vitality Band short, or I'm just, you know, like a stadium short of bumping a path or something, and the Peonies have come really into clutch, and I cannot overstate how much I've been enjoying this card. 1 copy of Air Balloon, just to have the flexible retreat options. Obviously, I don't want to put it here. I'd like to put them on these guys, the Genesect, for the 2 retreat costs. 1 copy of Vitality Band. I really think this card has been pulling its weight as well. The damage has been adding up tremendously well. 4 copies of Fusion Strike Energy. This card is king. Also, again, it's basically just a stealthy hood that lets you, no Inteleon pings, no Umbreon bring up, none of that. But there are decks playing Crushing Hammer, and more and more decks have been playing Fan of Waves, so it's something to watch out for. And there's 2 Psychic Energy. Now, this is kind of my idea of how I want to play Mew VMAX. This is the list that I've been settling on. If I had to go to a tournament tomorrow, I would play this. If I had to go to a 1K tomorrow, I'd play this. If I had a regionals tomorrow, I'd play this. Maybe 1 card change or something with regionals, because I always test a little bit more going into regionals. But if I was going to a 1K, going to a local, something like that, this is the list that I'd be taking with me. So if you guys enjoyed the video, remember to slam that subscribe button, like, the drill. Hopefully you guys enjoyed my take on Mew VMAX. The last one really did well. You guys can see the changes between my old Mew VMAX list and this new one if you click the link up below. I've been kind of following the same mantra, and that'll be the kind of how I operate on this channel. Like, if I like a certain deck and a way it plays, I will play into it, as opposed to kind of catering it to my own play style. So that being said, thank you guys for watching. I will see you guys for tomorrow's, or not tomorrow, next video.